afternoon, and welcome to the Gator Wesley Bio. Today on the show, we have Sean McWhinney. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, JC.
Oh, no problem. So let's go ahead and get started by having you explain a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Sean McWhinney, and I am a pharmacy student at the University of Florida, and I was born in Gainesville, Florida, and I have moved around quite a bit. From Gainesville, Florida, I moved to Orange City. Then, after Orange City, I moved to Fort Myers, then to Tallahassee, then to Sarasota, then to St. Pete, and now back to Gainesville, where I have been for 6 years now.
And moving around, how has that been an adjustment to you growing up?
Well, there have been some good things and some bad things that have come from that. One good thing is I became very good at making new friends, because you kind of have to.
True. Moving around so much.
Yeah. I'd say the bad things, probably what most people would expect, is saying goodbye to people. So I've had to say bye a lot, but I guess I've gotten good at that too.
And growing up, moving so much, how has that been with your family? Can you explain a little bit about your family and moving, and also about your father and mother, and kind of dwell on that a little bit?
Okay. Well, we moved around quite a bit because my father is a pastor, or was a pastor, for the university, or for the Methodist Church, I'm sorry. He was actually the pastor at University United Methodist Church, which is where Gator Wesley started back when I was born. My mother is a teacher for the hearing impaired, and so she knows sign language and all that jazz. And I have one brother. He is currently an animator for Moonbot Studios, which not a lot of people know about, but they're the studio that did the animated short that won the Oscar last season.
Oh, that must have been very nice for your brother.
Yes.
So you mentioned your father was a pastor, correct?
Yes.
And how has that been an influence on you growing up?
Well, my father being a pastor, I know a lot of people in the state of Florida because of that, having moved around so much. A lot of people know him because he's been to even more churches than I have, and I've gotten to learn a lot from him, how to relate to other people, because he is a pastor, has been a pastor for many people throughout his lifetime, and being able to relate to all of those different types of people, I feel like I've learned a lot from him on that matter. It was interesting growing up as a pastor's kid, because there are a lot of things that people assume about pastors' kids, which are not true. One of which being that a pastor's kid is going to be a, Bible know-it-all, or, that perfect goody-two-shoes Christian. At home, we didn't do a lot of the Bible stuff. I think that my Christianity, my faith, kind of just grew gradually throughout my lifetime. It wasn't just this one moment where it was like, that a lot of people do have, and I think that was because I was growing up in churches, and my dad was a pastor, and things kind of just were introduced to me as I grew up, and so it kind of slowly just became who I was,
So now let's go on your mother. How did you grow up with your mother being a pastor's wife, and how did she influence you as well?
Well, one very interesting thing about my mom is that she, like I said, is a teacher for the hearing impaired, and so she communicates to her students using sign language, and she sometimes forgets that I don't know sign language and will begin to talk to me and sign to me at the same time. I've always found that funny, that she just starts using her hands, and I just have to say, "Mom, stop. I don't know what you're trying to tell me with your hands right now," And so that's a lot of fun. But I think my mom is probably the nicest and most selfless person that I know, and so I feel like I've learned a lot from her on how to care about others first before yourself.
And you also mentioned you had a younger brother. How was your connection with your younger brother, and how was your relationship with your younger brother growing up?
Well, most of the time we would try to beat each other up, like brothers do.
As most brothers.
Yeah, and me being the older brother, I needed to find as many ways as possible to annoy him. I was very good at it. Very, very good at it. I don't annoy him anymore, though. I think once I went to college, we started to be closer, I'd say, and I think it was because we weren't around each other 24/7. Because when you're around someone that often, you kind of get on each other's nerves sometimes, and so now that he's married and off and has a job and everything, I think that we get along much more.
So you mentioned that your brother was an animator, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Can you dwell on that a little bit?
Yes, my brother got all of his artistic ability from my dad, who did a lot of painting and drawing while we were growing up. My brother has always wanted to work for like Disney or Pixar and has been doing art in various forms pretty much his entire life. And I always try to draw, but I was never quite as good as him, clearly. But one interesting thing is that now whenever I go to an animated feature film, I have to stay through the credits because I just got to start practicing, you know? So when my brother is a part of a feature film, I won't think it's such a burden to have to sit through the credits to see his name, you know, because I do it all the time now. So if anyone ever wonders why I'm just sitting there watching all the credits roll, I'm practicing.
And now you mentioned you're going to the University of Florida, correct?
Yes.
What drew you specifically to the University of Florida?
I think I went to the University of Florida because it was a very cheap option for me. At the time, Bright Futures was 100% of your tuition, and so I didn't have to pay for anything going to my undergrad classes. Also, my dad went here for a while, and so I think that drew me to UF as well. I also really liked the Gators as a football team, and so I think all of those things combined drew me to the University of Florida.
And you also mentioned that your father was the pastor here at when the church used to be UUMC as well, correct?
Yes, the church, Gator Wesley, used to be in conjunction with a traditional Methodist church as a part of the Methodist Conference, and he was appointed here a couple years before I was born and was the pastor-director here for a few years. It was a very interesting time, apparently, back then. I don't remember any of it because I was one, you know. It was very neat coming back here for my first year of college, and everybody at this church already knowing who I was, and half of them having had changed my diaper back when I was born, so that was a unique experience.
You did mention you're going to UF, and what degree program did you decide to choose, and what are you studying right now?
I began UF studying microbiology, and I chose microbiology because I did really well in AP biology. There really wasn't much more than that. I had done some research at UF when I was in high school. I came up here for a summer, and that might have influenced my decision to do microbiology as well because I was studying parasites. So I did 4 years or 3.5 years of studying microbiology, and then my senior year, I think it might have been the end of my junior year, I decided that I wanted to do pharmacy. And it just kind of came out of the blue. I really had no reason. I just woke up one day and said, this is where I need to go. And so I've been going, and I probably will keep going until I decide that I need to be going somewhere else. But I've been studying pharmacy now for 2 years, and it's been going pretty well. It's definitely something that I enjoy. I feel like I would enjoy it much more if I was doing it rather than learning it, because once you've had 6 years of school, you're kind of over it, you know.
But a lot of reviewers do know that you are the quote-unquote funny man of Gator Wesley. Can you dwell on your experiences on that and where that kind of comes from? And
yes. When I got to college, I, for the first few months, didn't do anything really at all. I stayed in my apartment with my friends, and we just hung out. But I decided that I needed to venture out and try new things. And the first thing that came to mind, other than Gator Wesley, was comedy. I had always thought it would be fun to try it out, and I had never done theater before or anything, and so I went to some theater strike force classes and studied improv comedy, kind of like the stuff they do on Whose Line Is It Anyway, and loved it. It was so much fun to be performing for hundreds of UF students and to be able to make them laugh whenever I wanted to. And so from there, I just kept doing as much comedy as I could on the side. I did improv comedy, I did stand-up comedy, I did sketch comedy. Loved every minute of it. And I think that that's probably why everyone calls me the funny man, as you put it. I guess I'm comfortable going on stage and acting like a doofus is probably how I got that title.
And a lot of reviewers do know that. They have seen a lot of your shows as well. You produced some comedy shows for UF as well. Can you dwell on that a little
bit? Yes, I did a lot of comedy in undergrad, and once I became a grad student in the pharmacy school, I decided that it was about time I gave back a little bit to the students, and so I started directing a group called Generation. I was kind of past the directorial hat my senior year, started helping these students along their journey of finding out how they want to do comedy, who they are on stage, and what they find funny. And it's been a really neat experience being able to work with them and help them cultivate their skills in sketch comedy writing, and seeing them perform on stage and their faces lighting up when they make someone laugh. And it's been a lot of fun.
And it's very nice. You being in pharmacy school and also doing comedy, they have that laughter is the best medicine.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes, a lot of my friends think that I need to be a pediatric pharmacist so I can make kids laugh, I guess, is what they say.
You said that got involved in Gator Wesley when you got to UF, correct?
Yes. Took me a couple months, but I finally came around and visited. I was supposed to visit as soon as I got down here, or up here, to Gainesville, but I don't know. I think the transition into college was a little difficult. But yeah, I've been at Gator Wesley for 6-ish years now, and it's been a lot of fun.
So can you dwell on a little bit what you have done in those 6 years you've been here?
Okay, well, my first year, they found out that I played the guitar and sang, and so I was forced to join Maranatha. I say forced because at the time I was, but as soon as I joined, I loved it and didn't want to not do it ever again. Tour was great, and I think a lot of the focus back then was definitely on Maranatha, and that was kind of our time to hang out together and do something together. And so I joined Maranatha, and when they found out I could play the guitar, they asked me to be in the band, which at the time the band consisted of 3 members, a guitarist and 2 singers, but the guitarist was Pastor David, and I don't think he wanted to do that anymore. And so he was glad that he found me, and so pretty much right off the bat, I started leading the band in our Thursday night worship services and on Sunday morning, and it was a very cool experience. Then my sophomore year, I was upgraded to upper room staff, which I guess back then was more like the Wesley leadership team is now. We didn't have a table that we had to staff in a building because we didn't have a building to staff, really. So my job back then was to clean the Wesley house, and I did not do a good job of that, but whatever, and to welcome people on Sunday mornings, and I feel like I did a pretty good job of that. I also was the leader of the first Emerge. For those of you who don't know, Emerge is the freshman Bible study / whatever. That was a great experience. Tons of really awesome people that I have met at Wesley came through that Emerge that we had that year, and Emerge has been great ever since. Then in my junior and senior year, we started growing a lot, and so we were beginning to get ready for the new building, and so there was a lot of transition into that and planning for that. And at first I thought this might not be good for me personally to have it grow so quickly, because then I'm just going to disappear in the crowd or something. But it's really become a blessing, because it's been so neat to see so many people come together in a community and for me to get to know all of them. So it's been really cool. And now I'm a graduate student and I have no responsibilities whatsoever, and I get to do whatever I want. It's nice.
So what do you hope to do with your degree later on after you graduate from UF?
Well, one thing I did learn that I did not know before I started pharmacy school is that there are a lot of avenues that you can take. And I thought that all I could do as a pharmacist was, work at CVS or Walgreens or something. But there's so much out there that I did not know about. I will probably, if things don't change from where they are today, which most likely they will, I will start off working at CVS or Walgreens or some sort of pharmacy like that, and eventually someday try out a hospital pharmacy and see how that goes. I've had a lot of very good experiences in hospital pharmacy during my time at UF. I've really kind of grown attached to the idea of one day working in a hospital, but it does require a lot more schooling. I have to go do residencies, and I don't want to do that, so because I'm kind of tired of school, so I'll probably just go work at CVS or Walgreens or whoever will take me and go from there. One thing I have learned from my professors, though, is that nobody stays in the same job forever. And so most likely I'll be moving somewhere else after that. I just don't know what yet.
And we're getting to the end of our show today. And we want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me.
And in the last few moments, is there anything else you'd like to add that people should know or you want people to know about you?
if there's anything that I would want the people at Gator Wesley to know about Sean that they don't already know, would probably be that I don't like it when people pat me on the back. And I know that sounds bad, but the reason why I don't like it when people pat me on the back is not because I don't want to be, touched, or I don't want you near me or anything like that, is that my back is probably the weakest back that anybody has ever had. And even the slightest touch really does hurt. And so I don't know if anybody's noticed, but if you slap me on the back, I wince because it hurts really bad. So just keep that in mind. Give me a hug if you want. Be careful with the back. That's all I got to say.
And we want to thank you for coming on the show again. And this has been Sean McWhinney. Thank you. And this has been the Gator Wesley Bios, produced by James Jordan and produced on location at the Gator Wesley Foundation, which is a campus ministry of the United Methodist Church that services the University of Florida and Santa Fe College. Tune in next time when we have more stories, more people, and more Gator Wesley Bios. Thank you and good day.